I liked your allusion to information, because if one looks at the role, Chief Information Officer, it really is about information and data, isn't it?
It is.
It's about the governance and the strategy.
Absolutely.
Of how you manage that. That's the asset in the organisation.
Completely, and it's of huge value to our organisation, the information that we hold. And I feel hugely privileged to be the person responsible for making sure that we look after it in the right way, but we also use it to our advantage, make it available to people.
Sure.
And I always end up with this in people's personal lives. They find the concept of search really, really simple. They go on their phone, they go on their laptop at home or whatever, and you do a sort of personal search, and you're looking for car rental in Namibia, and you get back a whole pile of things really quickly, and they're exactly what you want. And yet in enterprises, when you try to perform the same search, you get back long lists of things that are kind of out of date.
So data governance and information governance are key.
Absolutely.
To that. It's almost like you're trying to get Google within.
Yeah, but we have to. But exactly. But we're then wrapped as well with the security thing, because certainly in the business that we are in today, we need to make sure that only certain people have access to certain data at certain times. So when you take that into account as well, the complexity gets greater. But the prize is still there.
But is it a matter of stovepipes as well, or people just creating data within their own particular areas? And that's what creates the problem, that you get the inconsistency between the various areas and the lack of standardization, perhaps, across the piece. Is that the case in data and data governance within the organization?
I don't think so.
No?
I think we are getting ever increasing volumes of data, and people need help in understanding, how do I organize this and file this and put this in the right place at the right time. I just think otherwise it becomes overwhelming. And certainly we continue to see significant growth in the volume of data that
in the unstructured. Well, good afternoon, Matt.
Hey, good afternoon.
And good to see you here. And as one ex-CIO to another CIO who's rising through the ranks, start off with an old joke. And does CIO mean career is over? I mean, we've been hearing quite a lot about CDOs and CTOs, etc. So I'd be very interested to get your take on, what exactly is the role of the CIO? How is it evolving, and where do you see it going? In fact, what's your vision? What do you see as the mission and purpose of the CIO? Because you've obviously had experience of quite a few organizations now, and it'd be quite interesting to find out the background and the differences between those organizations and how you see that role evolving over time, now and in the future.
Okay. So I think that some of the phrases that you use, the CDO and things like that, I think organizations needed to create such jobs in order to give a focus to transformational change that they were trying to drive. I have a personal view that I don't see lots of longevity in the CDO role. I see it as a stepping stone type position. But I think the CIO, and the way that I view what I do, as being a conduit between all those technical things that people in our business and in our clients' businesses are having to use every day. The technology is becoming more and more important to them in every aspect of their working lives. And our kind of executive and our leaders in our organization, and the things that they want to try and drive strategically, and I act as the conduit there, and that's around all the information that our firm holds. And I guess in some ways that means that I am operating on a spectrum of plumber on the one hand, so just keeping things running, through to innovator on the other, and trying to help the organization understand how they can extract value from technology investments, how they can find the data that we've got existing within our organization, how they can leverage that to the advantage of us and our clients, how we can wrap security around the whole thing and keep what we need to keep safe,
Sure.
and give assurances to our clients that we are treating their data with the respect that it deserves. And I see that as being the job that I do. So I'm kind of a little bit like, I'm an agitator on the one hand, and I'm a safe pair of hands on the other. And you know, I've got a role to play in making sure that technology kind of, in some ways I view myself as a bit like a needle and thread, and I help thread things together. And more recently...
That's a nice analogy, yes.
Yeah, more recently I see myself as somebody who is actually a real advocate for business change and is the conscience in the room around making sure that we apply the right amount of investment to the business change and changes in processes that are required. From a technology perspective, there are very few questions that we can ask where you say, can technology do this? The answer these days is nearly always yes. And then there's a but that comes, and there's a price, there's a risk, there's a whatever consequence. But actually the bigger challenge is coming in all the things that people want to do. How do you change the way that you work? And I look at, for example, at things like volumes of email. So one of the most common questions I get asked by the stakeholders in our business today is, how can you, pointing at me, reduce the volume of emails that I get? To which the answer is, well, actually, I can give you all sorts of wonderful tools that will help you filter and create rules and other things. But actually, culturally, I cannot change alone the fact that we live in a business which thrives on email. And some people find those email volumes they get still very overwhelming.